This is a podcast from comedianscomedian.com.
This is the Comedian's Comedian podcast. Hello and welcome to the show. I'm Stuart Goldsmith. Now, before we get into this conversation with the brilliant Rhys Nicholson, I'm just going to quickly tell you more about my Soho run. It's the conclusion of the tour. It's from the 30th of May to the 3rd of June. So if you'd like to see the final 5 shows of Compared to What, after some 70 performances all over the world, you can come to Soho Theatre. Go to sohotheatre.com to get your tickets. The show is called Compared to What, and you can use the discount code VERA, V-E-R-A, all in capitals, in order to get your discount. If you would like to tweet the ticket link on my ComComPod biog, at ComComPod, there's a ticket link there to the Soho Theatre thing. Tweet it with your best insult of me, a 3-word insult. If you'd like to tweet the phrase Stuart Goldsmith is a, and then your most creative 3-word insult, and then the ticket link, that would be a lot of fun. Why don't we see how many people do that? Especially if you're a comedian listening to this with a large Twitter following and you would like to consider yourself a super Goldsmith. Don't forget, of course, the Joe Brand episode live at Soho on the 5th of June. That one is nearly sold out, so get in quick. Now, ladies and gentlemen, very pleased to bring you a recording from the Melbourne Comedy Festival, non-live. This is a little cheeky non-live, non-audience recording with a wonderful comedian who I've been enjoying for a long time. His name is Rhys Nicholson, and you will remember him if you've been around the Edinburgh Festival the last few years. He's the guy who dresses like Crispin Glover. He goes for the kind of white tux, specs, red hair. We talk a lot about his appearance. We talk about the relationship between his appearance and drag. We talk a lot about his experience as a comedian, and we talk a lot about where he's going and who he is as a person as well. And I think this is a really exciting one. So I'm not going to say any more now. Let's get stuck into this episode with Rhys Nicholson. My plan was to start with the show because I saw the show last night and it was excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent. Were you happy with it?
Last night was a bit of. There's been nights that I've been happy with this show. I'm happy with it. Last night was fun. I'm in the pit now. We're in the last week of the festival, and it's just in my head. So I can just do it, but be still having fun with it. I'm not sick of it yet. By the time we're into show 70, I'll be like a bit dead in the eyes. But that's why I like doing Edinburgh again, because you can swap stuff around and you have to change things, so then you're constantly thinking again. But no, I do. I think I'm enjoying it more than last year's. Like last year's show went better, but I was kind of scared of it a little bit. Like the show was it was doing well and I didn't know why. And so this year I'm kind of like, oh well, we'll see, and this is fun, and I'm just having fun.
And were you nominated last year for an award for the Barry?
Yeah.
So it was doing well and you didn't know why. Do you know why now, looking back?
No. And that's why at the start of this season I wasn't having fun. When I was writing this show, I was like, because last year just kicked off and I had and you enjoy it when it's happening, but then afterwards you're like, so if I was to recreate that somehow, what was it about that show?
Okay. And you don't know?
I have no idea. And it's gone fine. Like it's been reviewed fine. I've had a couple of those weird reviews that are like, which I don't take reviews seriously at all. It's the one thing I've always been able to avoid. Like I read them, but they don't. If like 3 reviews say a particular thing, I'm like, oh, okay. But I've had a couple of reviews that have been like, not as good as last year. I'm saying, okay, sorry, did my best. Don't know what you want from me. But yeah.
And where are we in terms of your career? How many shows have you done?
Well, it depends what you think a show is. I've done 6 shows, but 3 of them were just an angry man standing on stage being very angry at 4 people at a time. I think I properly started to work out what I do maybe 3 years ago, but I've done 6 shows.
And that's a really... I always balk at asking someone what kind of comic they are, but it's the perfect opportunity because you've just said I've worked out what I do.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
I don't know.
You clearly do. You worked it out. So tell us what you worked out.
Well, I think, no, it's like, I shuddered at the word voice, but, because I don't know why I find that such a wanky term, but I think I do, camp, I can say what I try and do, which is my onstage character is like an idiot who like I try and hide little smart jokes amongst like just dumb broad jokes. Like, and there's nothing I like more than just going off. Like I like loud noises and like a lot of movement, and but I also like doing kind of like we were just talking about this joke about a serial killer, and I like being able to just in the middle of a joke just go bang serial killer, or like talk about race things, or talk about last year the whole show was about marriage equality, but it was just as many jokes about my dick as anything else. So I don't know. I like I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I was just talking myself in a circle then. What do you think I do?
Well, I think the point I was leading around to was I brought my partner last night. I brought my fiance, and it was like one of the 3 shows she's going to see here because she's at home parenting. Yeah. And the way I said, you're going to love this, the way I sold it to her, and forgive me if this is the wrong approach. No, please. I said, it's kind of almost drag. Yes. Like the things she likes about drag are the things I was right, she loved your show. Yes. I would, yes. That would be something, because I like shiny things, and I wear a lot of makeup. Like it's an image that I've built over a few years. Like it's grown, like I used to just wear makeup because I had shitty skin, and now I've started to wear it because I want to look almost like ethereal isn't the right word. Hyper-real somehow. Yeah, like, and I draw archetypal. I draw on cheekbones, and I like wear like, I have a lot of mascara on, and I paint my nails and stuff. And it's kind of, hyper-real is probably like mannequin-esque. I almost want to be kind of genderless in a weird way, do you know what I mean? Like, not that, but like it's clear I'm a boy, but I talk a lot about sex, but I want to almost seem sexless. Do you know what I mean? Yes, I absolutely know what you mean. Yeah, and I think I was disappointed there was no white tux. I'd specifically sold the white tux. It was a 3-piece. It looked great. And I only discovered very recently that your glasses don't have lenses in them. Yeah, that's another thing as well. That's which I don't. It's not. I explained it once to someone. I want to look like Pee Wee Herman without the irony, like I'm saying everything that Pee Wee Herman is alluding to, and it's that thing. I'm all one color. I'm very rosy cheeked, very kind of like. But I'm talking about dildos and filth and stuff. Okay, and I mean, I don't know, like, you are definitely filthy, but I don't want people listening to this who don't know you to think that you are merely a smut peddler. Offensive. You're not offensive, and I think there's a lot more, there's more stuff in your show that isn't filthy, that is just lacerating. Yeah. It's like, it's not filthy specifically, you're skewering things and people and events and yourself. Yeah. So... this is a terrible example. You've got a routine about blowing someone and making yourself physically sick. Yeah, and vomiting on the dick. That is a bad example of you not being filthy. But the story, it's not just a gross out story. There's a gross out element to it. Yeah. There's a lot of other stuff going on in that story about who you are and what your life is like. Yeah. Not what your life is like. Constantly blowing guys on tennis courts. Yeah. But, there is a really human side to it and a very vulnerable side to it that I think is, I'm not going to say it's not present in drag, but yours is, I'll get in trouble if I say it's kind of deeper or richer than drag. That's not fair. I've seen some really rich drag. I've seen some really deep kind of drag, but I think also, the point I'm trying to make is, you can play gross out. Yes. There's a lot more going on than that. Yes. I think the danger is, for my listeners that haven't seen you, is that you be so self-deprecating about it, you just come across like a filth merchant. Yeah, no. Which, I mean, I'll be like, my main thing is I like to be likable on stage. Like, I think that's something I've always been able to get away with, according to reviews at least, is that there's even I can be saying, and I don't know how I've done it, but I can talk about pretty brutal things, and the audience I've never really had an audience at least in the last few shows, like, turn on me. They might not find something funny, but I've never had it. I don't feel like I try my hardest not to have an audience go, oh, come on, and like get angry at me as a performer, like get angry at my act, which is something I just don't like the idea of, I like to push buttons in other ways, more about expectation than, which is a wanker way to put it, but do you know what I mean? It's like, I'm comedy first, I guess is the way to put it. Like, I want to be funny first,
and then secondly, make people go like, oh, that's interesting. Yes.
When I walked into the room 20 minutes ago, I was really surprised to see the real
Oh,
you.
yeah, with none of the shit on.
With none of the shit on. I've seen you a few times, bumped into you socially. I saw you after your gig last night, so you were still in your gear. And I saw you after a gig at Max Watts in the Festival Club.
Yeah.
I don't remember the last time I saw you in civvies.
Yeah, you've probably maybe never seen... I've had friends, like close friends that I've known for years and who have never seen me out of it because I only ever see them around show business. Whereas like... But it's a big part of it. Like it's I take an hour if I've got the time. I can do it in about 20 minutes. But it's like I put on a TV show and I like put on the face. It takes about... That takes about 20 minutes, half an hour to like get it all right, which sounds so dumb. But it's the same thing. But then drag queens take 2.5 hours, which blows my mind. I wanted to be a drag queen. If comedy hadn't have worked out, my mum says that when I was about 6, I saw bits of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, that I probably shouldn't have seen at that young. And my parents, like, they're artists, so I saw the Rocky Horror when I was young, and I remember just going like, this is amazing. Like I remember thinking a drag queen was someone who could be a boy and a girl. And I was just, in my mind, my 6 to 8 year old mind was like, well, why wouldn't you do that all the time?
Yeah.
We were at a dinner party and someone said this standing question, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said a drag queen. And it just kind of went a bit quiet. But I used to,
so you shall.
Yeah, exactly. I don't, and I still talk about a friend of mine, Joel Creasy, who's another comedian. We both love drag very much, and we always talk about one night we're both just going to do it. Like just get a friend of ours to do something and go out, because it's just it obsesses me, because they're very powerful in like a when I was like growing up going to gay bars, which isn't really my scene anymore, but it was like just how there's this universe inside a gay bar or inside kind of drag clubs where they are like the queens of it. Like you always see them sitting on a bar and they get free drinks and they can boss people around. Like even the security guards don't fuck with them. Like it's just this very interesting, and they get in places for free, and it's just a whole. And I love RuPaul's Drag Race just because it knows exactly what it is. It's like the best bad TV show on television.
Yeah, I agree.
Constant winking. Yeah, I just love it. Because it just doesn't take itself seriously, and it's the original. How does RuPaul put it? It's almost the original punk, but now we just see it as this campy thing. But can you imagine like in the 70s, like being a man dressed as a woman in New York or something? Like it'd be, Anyways, I find it very, and that's why I like all the makeup and stuff. I feel like that I like wearing it because it's a bit of a fuck you sometimes, especially when I'm in small country towns and stuff, which is a lot of what I do.
Okay. I want to come back to that. I mean, I'm really fascinated by that idea. I'm
hopping all over the place.
No, totally fine. I'm just trying to mark things. Okay, we'll come back to that in a bit. In terms of do you refer to him as the character? I feel like you did then. Is that?
No, like it is me. It's not, it's just an exaggerate, like all stand up. Like I'm definitely not, a character in that. What would he say in this situation? Like I'm me when I'm on there, and so I definitely. If I'm writing, there are choices. Like I always think of it as it's like what I do in stand up. If I twist stories in different ways and stuff, I paint like what I would have preferred to have done in that situation, or I say things on stage that I wish I had said in real life. I guess is again a very wanky way to say it.
No, not at all. And do you kind of then disavow them? And like a lot of comics will do that, and then they'll get a topper by going, "Oh, that isn't really what I said." I feel like do you do that, or do you kind of let it stay there? Like, yeah, that's fine.
No, I will often I'll correct myself. Like, there's no big lies in this show. I've had shows before where there are big lies, like just whole conceits of shows being
You're
fake.
Not actually for marriage equality.
No, way against it. Although
the racism bit last night. Sorry, I just wanted to celebrate that bit. But tell me what you were going to say. Although,
because there was a big moment in Australia last year where we were going to do a plebiscite, like vote for marriage equality, and I was touring a show about how we didn't have marriage equality, and I'm engaged to a man. There was like a split second where I was like, it'd be good if it didn't pass till after August. because then I'm going to have to change the end of this show, and it's going to be such a difficult show to fix, and let's just not have it for another year, and I can make some money. But I didn't really think that. But
on the subject of marriage, briefly, did you marry Zoe Coombs-Marr?
I did. I married a lesbian last year. Here at we signed paperwork. It was never filed, but we did it as like that was kind of not the point. But yeah, Zoe Coombs-Marr, who's an incredible. She was just in the UK, I think.
Yes, I missed her because I had to tour, and then I clashed with her exactly here, and I think she's finishing this show. I'm so desperate to see Trigger Warning, and I don't think I have a single opportunity. It's very frustrating. It's online. It should be It'd be on iView, which is our ABC. Ah, that's great. Okay,
yeah,
good.
So it'll be. I think because it was on TV the other night, so it's probably still on iView at the moment.
Okay.
But I've seen that show a couple of times now. She does this, so I'll explain. Zoe does this character called Dave, who is the worst Australian comedian, basically. Like half our comedians are called Dave here. And it's just, as a young, if I had watched this show 3 or 4 years ago, it would have hurt my feelings, I'd imagine.
Really? Even you?
Yeah, all the tropes, all the just the way that she does crowd work and saying, so I'm single, and every open mic male comedian who's single has done that at some point. Do you know what I mean? We've all had the...
casting a net.
Yes. Yeah. And she has this great thing. Maybe it wasn't this show, it was the last show that she did as Dave, maybe 10 minutes in, asking the tech how long she'd been on. We've all done that with your first show, just kind of come on, let's just get to 45 minutes so I can get off. And anyway, so we've been quite good friends for a few years, and she was dressed as Dave. We were in Edinburgh year before last, very drunk, and she was, at the end of Dave, she's quite often covered in fake blood and fake vomit, and I was in a suit, and we walked past a mirror, and I said, we look like the worst wedding toppers of a gay wedding cake. And we laughed. Anyway, we went and got drunk more. Woke up the next day, went and had breakfast, and she said, I've had this idea, we should get married as because she's been with her partner for 7 years, I've been with my partner for 7 years. I mean, she was it's very funny that it's interesting that we can't get married to our partners, but we can legally marry each other. We should just do it and make it a big charity event. And I was like, yeah, it's a great idea. And the Melbourne Comedy Festival, we pitched it to them, and we were thinking they probably wouldn't go for it because it's a government-run festival. They just were like, yes, and just went balls deep in it. And suddenly we had a production team, and for my engagement present, Zoe gave me framed, we over beers and ramen wrote the script for the wedding on a napkin, literally on a pull piece of paper towel. And so I've got that now. It was just a really, it was probably the most important thing I'm ever going to do in comedy. It never doesn't come up in interviews, or it was just this insane idea that just kicked off, and it was in 5 national papers, and it was all over the online here. It made some international news as well. But yeah, it was just really out of nowhere, and we were so scared of it when the day came, because it just turned into this thing. Okay. That we were it's not as big as I'm probably making it sound, but it was national news.
What were you scared of on the day when you said you were scared?
Because it was so loaded, and because it was very silly as well. There was really poignant parts. Hannah Gadsby did the opening speech, and we kind of said to her, just write 5 minutes, just do gear if you want, but just open. She was the MC of the wedding. And she did, it's online, she did 5 or 7 minutes of the most poignant, which is, the kind of stuff that's probably going to win her the Barry this year. Just this incredible, funny, but really dark speech about marriage equality and about, just equality generally. And people were just bawling within the first 5 minutes of the show. And as soon as that happened, we were like, okay, this is all right. But we also had a brawl planned in the audience, and we had sugar glass bottles smashing over each other. And
fantastic.
She has this pipe going up the back of her head, so blood started pouring down her face. And I had a capsule in my mouth that turned into fake vomit, so I see the blood coming down her face, and then I threw up on her. And we had Anne Edmonds and Greg Larson and Damien Power, who were playing these characters last year. They did this show that won awards called True Australian Patriots, which was a parody of racist groups in Australia.
Yes, I heard someone told me about that. Yeah, I'm sorry I missed that.
And then they came up on stage and were like shouting lefty scum, and people were beating the shit out of them. It was just, but then we also had a choir sing True Colours while we signed the set. Like just this really odd, very strange. We had Judith Lucy and Denise Scott, who are two quite well-known comedians here, were the Flower Girls, and so they were ribbon dancing, but they were these kind of 60-year-old flower girls. Yeah, it was really, like, special is the only way, like, it was, and I can say that because I was part of the writing, and I had about 3 lines in the actual show, but Zoe was kind of the hive mind of it, and it was just really fun to be taken along.
And you didn't file it because the job was done at that point?
Yes.
The spectacle
it wasn't
was done. It had been in the paper.
Yeah, Hannah even said in the show, if you're wondering whether this is a real wedding or not, you've missed the point. And we thought about, but it only occurred to me, it occurred to both of us watching an episode of Transparent for some reason, where there's an episode where someone gets married and they decide they don't want to get married, so they just don't file the paperwork. And we looked it up. We're like, oh, yeah, because we had a lot of trouble finding a celebrant, because if we had have quietly gone together to do it, it's totally legal. Yeah. But it's the making a mockery of the institution of marriage.
Oh, I see.
And we would have had to get a celebrant that would lose their license.
Okay.
Like, in a heartbeat.
Okay.
But yeah, so we just decided we'll sign the paper. And we had a real celebrant, but we'll just sign the paperwork but not file it on Monday. So if you're at a wedding, that person is not actually married, which blows my mind.
Okay.
Yeah. We had a joke as well.
Getting married myself in 2 months.
Yeah.
Useful.
Yeah, you got 48 hours. And we also had a joke, like, we said, we're not legally not allowed to make a public mockery of marriage in front of a celebrant, so we put a blindfold and big earmuffs on the celebrant throughout the first 20 minutes. So there's all this debaucherous, crazy shit going on with just this man in the corner of the stage, blindfolded, just staring off into the distance, not knowing what's going on. It was quite fun.
So this is Rees, and remember, Rees is going to be at the Edinburgh Festival this year, so please do go along and see his show. I cannot recommend his act enough, as you heard me say in that first section, just that 5 minutes or 10 minutes that I saw him do for a TV taping. He just blew everyone else off the stage. He was just absolutely tremendous. Such dense, fast, multiple punchlines on punchlines on punchlines, and with such a coherent character. Really exciting to watch. Now, on the subject of Edinburgh, do me a favour. You all know I'm going to be at the Liquid Rooms at 3:45pm daily. On the free fringe, but remember to turn up early and bring money. The show is called Like I Mean It. The finishing touches are being put as we speak to all the promotional gubbins, and that is the show that won Best New Show at the Leicester Comedy Festival this year, so I'm very excited about that. I would like to make sure, given that so few broadsheets review comedy anymore, and those that do I feel like I've got some relationship with, but there's a lot of comedy bloggers out there, some of whom I know about, some of whom I don't know about. If you're a blogger, if you're reviewing at Edinburgh, if you fancy coming to see the show, get in touch with me, info@comedianscomedian.com, and let's see if we can rustle up some sort of advanced publicity. Why not use the wheels of this great machine I've created to crush me beneath a tide of emails? That was such a good improvised analogy until I confused a machine with a tide. Anyway, get in touch with me, info@comedianscomedian.com. On that subject, you can get in touch with me on any subject. A sculptor has got in touch. This is Nicola. She says, I really enjoyed a long email from Nicola. The bit I wanted to read out is, she says, I find your podcast really reflective. The common denominator for success within your industry seems to be honesty and integrity. Haha, what little you know. It's exactly the same in the art world, she says, so I found the parallels fascinating. Sarah Pascoe drew a huge counter-conclusion. Now, I mean, it's been years since that episode went out, but I should have pointed out at the top, Nicola has just completed listening to every single episode in 2 weeks, which is incredible going and not to be recommended. She says, Sarah Pascoe drew a huge counter-conclusion that sculptors and comedians are totally different breeds. I found quite the opposite to be true, and although I appreciated what she was getting at, she is totally wrong. Haha. She goes on to say, at one point I concluded that I should give up sculpture and become a comedian, but then I remembered we need money, and well, I'm not funny. Very tempted, though. Now listen, this is where the new comedy experiment that I'm running comes into its own. This is called Everyone's a Comedian. I launched it on the show last week, and I'd like to. We've had a load of people already get in touch. So if you are someone like Nicola who enjoys the show, appreciates the creativity, occasionally has funny ideas, or maybe thinks that you aren't funny, but maybe you'd like to find out whether an idea of yours could be, let me be your mouthpiece. Let me be your spokesperson artist. Spokesartist? I don't know what it is. And I tell you what, I did an interview about this concept. Someone rang me up for a blog about this, about the concept of this show, and already I found like I was wildly improvising. I hadn't expected anyone to sort of care beyond you guys. It's not official. It's not officially in the Edinburgh Fringe guide, but I do think it's maybe a first in the world kind of thing. So I should have been prepared for it. But they had lots of questions about it, and most of them I answered by going, I don't know. I just think it would be fun to do. I feel like I'm probably laying myself open to the accusations from other comedians of wanting to steal the ideas of everyone in the world, but that's not what it's about. For those of you who weren't listening last week or haven't caught up with that one yet, the show is called Everyone's a Comedian. I'm doing it at a top secret date and location, and you know in the comedy world whenever anyone says top secret it means they don't know yet. I am going to perform an hour of your material. So you can go to comedianscomedian.com/experiment and submit your ideas for jokes, ideas for stories, half a one-liner, an idea you've been toying with for years. Maybe every time you see a wishing well, you think something funny about wishing wells, and you say it to your friend, and they go, "We've heard you say that. It's not funny," but you think it is. Let's not forget Stu's great egg box joke. This is one of my favourite ever jokes, which is simply that I like to digress briefly. What I like to do whenever I buy eggs, and the person at the checkout opens the egg box, I like to lean in and say to the eggs, "All right, lads." I tried that for years. It wasn't funny for years, and it probably wasn't funny when I just delivered it then. But it bloody worked in the tour shows, in the Edinburgh show a couple of years ago. So if there's a little thing like that just always makes you snigger, that's the sort of thing. And I would like a broad church here. So if your stuff is surreal, if it's whimsical, if it's observational, if it's truth about you alone in your room being the king of pain, as Rollins was fond of saying, then I want to hear that stuff. comedianscomedian.com/experiment. Of course, it goes without saying, if you are a comedian, a professional, a newbie comedian, if you've ever set foot on a stage, you are disqualified from entering. Someone on the Comedians Comedian Facebook group said they've never felt so proud to be disqualified, which I take to mean, obviously, they've done a gig or two and are quite chuffed with that. So this is about giving a voice to people who otherwise would not have the opportunity to share their funny ideas. I don't know. Is it going to work? Is it going to be awful? I don't know. I just had the idea and then I couldn't not do it. So I think it is in keeping with the tone of this show. So I think it's fun. People have already submitted stuff, so you can too. Now, let's get on with it. That's all I need to say right now. You can donate. You know all about that. But let's get back to this conversation with the fascinating and very funny and very charming Rhys Nicholson.
Let's come back to you. You've spoken a bit about the character, and who I'm calling the character.
Yes.
But
you sound like my aunt.
What is it?
You're quite the character, aren't you? What a card.
I wanted to ask, when you said you were talking about the comparison with Pee Wee Herman, you said I wanted to do like Pee Wee Herman, but explicit. Making explicit the things that are implicit.
Probably who Paul Rubens really is.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So when you say I wanted to do that, why? Why? What is it that you decided to use all of those components?
I love like the makeup came from, I love old, and the suits as well. I love old showbizness, like the kind of the Joan Crawford scary 2 inches of makeup kind of look, and you see all those old like headshots of that time, and so they look really odd. It looks strange now, very thick eyebrows and so I like that. So I want it to be, and look, if I'm honest as well, the look also comes from, in a lineup of, 14 male comics, it makes you, like, if you're the one with bright red hair and a weird face and a sparkly suit on, it makes you, like, they might not remember what your name is, but they're like, the redheaded, the gay one. Mm-hmm. And so it helped with kind of branding and stuff like that. And I also love, one of my favourite comedians is Paul F. Tompkins, and he does a similar always
always
look.
A bow tie.
Always a bow tie, always dressed up. And I like dressing up for show business, because to me it's like, I love being in the shittiest room, stinky, bad Edinburgh, wall dripping with condensation, and still in like a like a white tux. Like, hey guys, I'm doing this for you. And I think it's easy. And to be honest, you get away with more on stage. I've said some heinous things on stage before that I can get away with because, and things that I mean, but things that you usually, a guy in a flannelette shirt and jeans might not be able to get away with. And yeah, that sounds horrific, me like nutting it out like that, going, oh, I've made these choices so I can say horrible things.
No, I don't think that sounds...
But if I'm honest, I'd say that's probably it. Like I love, and to be honest, the makeup as well started because I had bad skin, and it just grew and grew and grew, and it's very odd. High fashion is the wrong word, but odd looking, and it throws people off their guard.
I think that aspect of throwing people off their guard, I think it's to do with, or I wonder if it is to do with power.
Yeah,
and in the same way that drag can be to do with power, like you've discussed, the drag queens in the bar, drag queens walking down the street looking so powerful, no one's attacking them, because actually they've gone so, like, to the average potential aggressor, they look so kind of this mixture of confidence.
It's where the word, like, because that's what the drag queens say a lot, though. You're looking fierce. Like, I want to look, I'm in like very well cut suits, and I have long legs, so I wear like long black pants to make my legs look longer, and I wear a lot of shiny things, and I make my cheeks really sharp, and my eyes quite big, and I wear these glasses. Like, it's like and big hair. I used to have huge hair. I used to like tease it up until these huge. I look back on it and think, no, you shouldn't have been doing that. But it's to be like otherworldly, I guess.
Could you do the act dressed as you are now?
I don't think so. Parts of it, but it'll be toned down a lot. Like, I don't wear it when I'm doing new material.
Okay.
Because it lowers I've even started recently wearing a pair of overalls when I do new material. Because it's like, what's the opposite of a suit? A farmer. I look like I'm running my hands over barley or something. So I don't think I could. But then it's in the same way, like, because you know that whole thing where like some comics will say, like I've not shit in the years, but I've had like people kind of insinuate that like half my act is the look, and as if like all comics aren't wearing some sort of costume in some way, which is in the same way, like the guy wearing a hoodie and 3/4 pants on stage also wouldn't be able to do their act in my outfit. Mm-hmm. So you know what I mean? Like I think we're all, as RuPaul says, we're all born naked and the rest is drag. I don't love RuPaul as much as I'm insinuating.
I think RuPaul is an incredibly shrewd man.
Yeah.
I think RuPaul is incredible. I think RuPaul's, everything Ru does, I think, Jesus, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
The positioning. From the word go, America's next drag... America's drag superstar, America's drag supermodel. Yeah. To then the fact of like being the queen, the mama queen, in charge of everyone else. Well, I get to frame and position you.
And it's just like, and making people take this insane thing so seriously, like making people bawl, because it is their lives. Like people, and quite often they come from very broken situations, and so they've had to create these drag characters to be this powerful person.
Yeah.
And they
episode 8 we normally find that out.
Yeah. Someone comes out as trans, or they've got HIV, or and it is interesting, they always seem to mix in, and I guess in a way like it's what I try and do as well, like with these dumb concepts like clever uniqueness, nerve and talent, spells out cunt, and so but then also having these insane episodes where they're talking about people that have these horrific things happen in life. In a weird way, that's kind of what I try to do, is like be like, dick, here are my dick jokes, also here's a horrific thing that happened, dick, like just trying to mix up so people are kind of off their guard but they're not uncomfortable.
And does it help to do that? Does it help you process? Are there horrific things, as you put it, in your past which have been, are there, and if there were, has using this helped? Has it been therapeutic?
Not really. I mean, no, I'm not one of those people that thinks like, just stage time, you just got to get stage time and it's just cheap therapy. No, like go to a therapist. But it does, I've had, like I talk about in the show, like anxiety and depression and eating disorder and like stuff. And like it does, being able to make jokes about it it doesn't help me, but I would hope that maybe it's a little bit stigma raising, and like I would wager that I'm one of the, like, and I don't talk about it for, it's only about 5 minutes of the show, but I would wager I'm one of the first like men to talk about an eating disorder in a while. And I think the outfit and the look helps me do that in some way. It's the same as, say, like, I mean, I won't talk about the details of it, but like Richard Gadd's show this year is a very similar, I mean, not a very, very different situation and very different proposition. But it's like using theatrics to like deal with a horrific thing.
And absolutely. And I think if you're using the theatrics to deal with the horrific thing, does it deal with it? Is there an element to which... I think the words healing and therapy and those kind of words, it's very easy to sort of look down on those terms. No one wants to go like exactly as you said, no one wants to go, doing therapy on stage. That's the worst thing a critic can level at. Keep it yourself.
Because it's just that, like, it's the thing that to me is very rookie, kind of like someone on stage at a shitty open mic room talking about their girlfriend breaking up with them and not a joke in sight.
Sure.
Come on, mate.
But if we call that one end of the spectrum, you talking about bulimia on stage in a nuanced and deft and very funny and painful way. That's, we're talking about two different things.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask the question again.
All right.
Does it help? Is there a sense through which... you go, hey, you're somehow shriven by having been able to own it.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's some way that you could say I did
just throw shriven in there.
I know.
I'm just slightly disavowing shriven.
Yeah, it was good. David Schwimmer. But it's the same as coming about anything. It helps lift something off your shoulders. But it wasn't like I was walking around going, like, I came out about it quite a few years ago and have talked about it. But I think it definitely, I've wanted to talk about it on stage for a while, but never really had the material for it. And not that I really do now. Like, it's just, as I say, it's 5 minutes of the show. But yes, it does, I guess it does help, but not as much as therapy and other situations have.
Sure.
But no, like, it feels good to be able to, people, I like, and I even, like, within the 5 minutes, I will say, like, there's a joke that gets a laugh, but it's one of those laughs where they go, and I've started calling people out for it and going, no, you can laugh at this, it's fine. And, like, that is being able to almost put an audience in a hostage situation where they go, oh, no, maybe this is funny. Maybe we can laugh at this. And then they, hopefully, the 100 people that are in there will then think differently about it in some weird, obscure way.
Yes, I totally agree. I think I get very frustrated when either people I'm talking to, other comics, interviews, whatever, when people sort of act as if their act exists in a bubble and has no effect. Like, okay, obviously you doing one or someone doing one joke about something isn't going to end homophobia. It's not going to end so and so. But of course it has an effect for the people in the room.
Yeah.
Even if it's one of a million experiences that each individual audience member undergoes in their entire life. It just flicks the switch left or right, tolerance or not, And that's what I like what I try and do, because my spots can be kind of different to my shows. Not too much different, like, they're all pretty, I talk very quickly, but they're a lot more boiled down, my spot, as all spots are. Well, when I saw you at Max Watts, I realised watching the show, you kind of hit beginning, 3 beats in the middle, end. It was like bang, bang, bang. That's kind of like a tiny, like the core of the show almost. Yeah. I just mimed some sort of ice design that I'm not aware of.
It was almost like jail bars or something.
I was sort of meaning like I think I was visualising when scientists drill down.
Oh, yeah. What do they call that? Something, I don't know. Yeah, we'll get there.
But I interrupted you. You're making the point. The difference between your spots and your set.
Yeah, and I make, like, I would say my spots are probably a lot broader. And that's because I do, like, a lot of, rural touring, and I like being in some of these towns, like, imagine, like, Middle Australia, I'm by far the gayest thing they've ever seen in their lives. And I kind of like that. And I can turn it up where in order to survive in these shows, be exactly what those people think a gay person is, but I sprinkle in, here are some jokes about homophobia that are going to hopefully make you realise what you're thinking is wrong. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I'm trying to...
And talking about things like writing jokes about anxiety and things and doing them to a country town is very satisfying to me.
Yes,
and doing things about
absolutely
shouting at someone from a car and getting an audience to laugh at something that they've probably done before is very satisfying. And
is there a cost to you when you camp it further up? Do you see what I'm just saying? I don't know quite how to sort of sensitively ask this, but is there an aspect to which you're kind of doing gay face?
Yeah, you know? Totally. Oh, it's like, because I'm a camp guy anyway. Like I'm very like, I've got a lisp and I use my hands a lot and I'm like over the top in real life. But yes, I would have, and it does feel a bit shit sometimes having to do it. But it's a cost that I'm happy to pay to be able to then be on television and be actually me and do exactly the material that I want. Like, we've all been at a gig where you've gone, I'm going to do that bit from 2 years ago that I don't always agree, like I don't agree with the politics of it necessarily anymore, but it's going to get me through this gig and it's going to make these people, and almost using those, I'll camp it up, say I'm doing half an hour or an hour, I will be very camp and do some pretty broad jokes at the start and then slowly start talking about, and so by the end of it, I've got them laughing at me, on your terms. Yeah, on my terms. Yeah. Which is, it's taken me a long time to learn how to do that. I was just very shouty for a long time.
So talk to me about the origins of your act then. How did you get into stand-up in the first place?
I'm one of those people that I just always wanted to do it. Like, always. I've got all the VHSs lined up in my family home of like all the Melbourne galas and the Montreal galas, and I finished school. I did my first stand-up when I was 16, 17. I got the train down with my friend Ella to Sydney from Newcastle, where I grew up, and did it had that annoying thing where we snuck into a bar and I kind of went okay, but they were probably just nice to me because I was clearly a 16-year-old child.
And what was the act then? What was the...
It was camp, like a similar, probably closer to what I do now, but then over the next kind of 2 or 3 years, I tried, that where you kind of pretend to be your favourite comedian for a while, and at the time I loved Sarah Silverman, who I still do, but very different to what I do now. And so I used to stand there and just say caustic, horrible things, where what she does, her early career at least, took her 10, 15 years to learn how to do that. And so then I'm as a 19-year-old trying to
apparently you can just say this.
Yeah, and just saying brutal AIDS jokes and blah blah, because it's what I thought. It's what the comedian that I wanted to be. And then I started discovering Maria Bamford and Paul F. Tompkins, and they're the kind of two, and we don't do anything similar, but they're my two favourite comedians. They kind of formed me, I think, just because the way that Maria talks about mental illness and stuff, but with crazy voices, and does her jokes quite odd. They're very weird, kind of whimsical. She does weird little asides, which is something that I've always tried to do. Mumbling things as she's taking a sip of something, and
whimsical sort of isn't the word for Bamford, is it?
No.
That's a bit of material she has on Ask Me About My New God, which is one of the all-time best titles for anything.
The thing about... which bit were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say making the rabbit face on your own face.
Yeah. And I think the most is in that bit, she's talking about soldiers killing themselves when they get home more than when they're at war, and she starts laughing hysterically, and you can hear the audience really uncomfortable, and she says, sorry, I'm only just laughing because it must be a joke because no one seems to be taking it seriously.
Yeah.
And it's just this real, she's just been doing all these dumb, silly jokes, great jokes, but it's a lot of silliness.
Really
goofy,
silly, goofy jokes.
And then, bam, soldiers are killing themselves. We need to invest more in mental illness in this country. Just things like that. And her whole, I saw her in Montreal last year, and as she walked out, and I'm not an emotional person, not a crier, and I started crying when she walked out because I was like, I'm seeing her.
Yeah.
So this is very odd. I was sitting with my friend Rebecca, and she was like looking at me like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
I saw that show. It was incredible. And to see her now coping with her success and her perceived success, like publicly coping, material about coping with the fact that now she's apparently successful.
Yeah.
Was just superb.
Guys, I didn't want to do this show tonight.
Yeah, that's the line!
Yeah.
That's the line.
Yeah. It's just astounding. Like, she's just... And, yeah, I met her once really briefly a few years ago here in Melbourne, and I would have been maybe 20 or something, and was just like, couldn't stop just staring at it. It was it was like I was doing a Marie Bamford impression at her.
Yeah, I wonder if she gets that a lot. So you'd seen a load of comedy. You're wanting to be a comedian kid. Were you funny in school?
Definitely tried to be. I was maybe ahead, like, because again, my parent, like, I saw all my references were kind of wrong, I think, for my age. And I'm not saying like I was smarter than them. I'm saying I just was more interested in, the Rocky Horror and Peter Cook and Dudley Moore and like that era of things. And so I remember I used to watch over and over and over again the DVDs of The Secret Policeman's Ball.
Yeah.
Like just over and over and was constantly, and I love, like, another weird reference was like 30 Rock, which is an amazing show, but no one at my school, they were all watching, I don't know, like what's a horrible Chuck Lorre show. Anyway, I maybe had like 3 or 4 friends who were also interested in those things. And I was quite overweight and very pimply. And so I think I was just annoying. But I so wanted to be the class clown, but I just was not. And then when I got a bit older, I kind of was, and I got a bit more confident.
And was it confidence? Were there any other changes in between? I'm just thinking, if anyone's listening to this that is currently the wannabe class clown that you were, who kind of relates to that and goes, no one gets me and I'm not happy and I'm not this. If there is anyone in that position listening, what was it how did you change what you were doing socially such that you did become funnier?
I think, I don't know what because I even say in the show, like, I didn't even realise things which, like, I just suddenly found myself to be kind of funnier. People kind of thought I was funny suddenly. I think it's just maybe my references caught up, or, I mean, I don't know whether I probably made some sacrifices of like, well, okay, maybe don't always say that thing, or maybe let's try and work a little more on the mainstream.
Was it to do with need? Was it to do with
I was
desperation?
like survival as well.
I mean, in terms of like, were you less needy? Were you funnier because you were less needy?
Probably, like, it would have come from confidence of like, and me not being so like, come on guys, please laugh at this.
Yeah.
I probably just, was maybe just a bit more comfortable in myself. Well, at least thought I was. I feel like I'm not giving a good answer to this.
That's all right.
But I'm just trying to.
I've never asked that before of anyone, actually. You summed up so well, and particularly last night, what was really eye-opening, and someone else, John Robbins, mentioned something in the same vein, not quite the same, but very rarely do you hear someone admit to, I was bullied. Maybe I wasn't the nicest kid to other people.
No, I was, at least in the last year of school, I became, because suddenly you rise up the ranks a little bit, if you're lucky enough for that to happen, but with great power comes great responsibility, Stu.
Which you neglected.
Other
people's lives.
And I became horrible. I mean, I wasn't. I talk it up a little bit more on the show but I was a bully to other people. It's that thing of I probably would have. I think it was more just I joined in. I wasn't singling out people, but it's like that thing where you've got a cousin who, when it's just the two of you, you were like best friends, and then as soon as all the other older cousins were around, suddenly you were the one being teased. Does that make any sense? Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I'd do that probably more. Like, if I was one-on-one with a person, we'd hang out and it'd be great, but if there was a group of us, I'd join in on the teasing.
Snake.
I know. It's horrible, isn't it? It's horrible. And I had, like, and that's what, it's one of my main things now is just to be nice. It's so easy in this industry to be nice, and learn everyone's name and be likable and like not a cunt. And there's so many cunts in this industry, and it's my main thing to just not be like. So at least in the last few years, I've made a very conscious decision to stop bitching and just work on my own thing. Yeah.
So so two more kind of bigger topics that I want to cover. Let's talk about your writing. You talked about going on stage, doing new material in overalls.
Yeah.
What does your writing process look like? Are you a sit down, write it out person?
So with my shows, I write them and my partner Karen directs them or like help, because I'm not good at. I can write a joke and I can write a bunch of jokes. I can write routines. He's better at. I'm not good at. I panic looking at the whole thing and going, is this a show? How is this a show? And so he will go through the material with me and say, well, this is the theme. This is clearly what the theme is. And then we talk about it and do it on a whiteboard and blah, blah, blah.
Okay, that's interesting because the structure of your show last night was absolutely bomb-proof. It was great.
Oh, thanks.
The recurring callback about the family motto. Yeah. And I don't want to get too detailed with it. I don't want to turn off people listening who don't have the opportunity to see it, although you will be at Edinburgh, so people can see it there. But structurally, I came out and I said to my partner, that was so easy to enjoy. It was so easy.
Good.
It was like, look at this. Look at the character, look at the jokes, look at the one-liners. It's all meaningful. It all comes from somewhere. It's saying something. It's constantly funny. And look, all the writing is like a parquet floor. Look how beautiful it dovetails together.
And it's not like that for a long time.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a good... I do a lot of 35-minute trial shows that don't feel good. In that,
why 35?
Well, I don't know. They always seem to. The first few always seem to seem to level up to that. I write on my laptop, but probably my shows. If you were to read them out, the text of them would only level up to maybe about 35 minutes probably. But I go on stage and I do trial, I do Perth Fringe, and I every year, and I call the show, these are my new jokes, no refunds, and the tickets are like $5, and people just come and watch me do 50 minutes of fuck around, and I write on stage now. I've had to kind of accept that that's what I do. Like I take the punchline and I'll just talk around it for as long as I possibly can, and then get to it, and I try and. On stage, I like that's where all the asides come from, because I like just like squeezing a joke.
Absolutely. You're like Matt Kirshen for tags.
Yeah.
Tag.
Just like anything I can get out of it, and I will do it like that, and they grow over the course of the show. Usually I'll come into Melbourne with about a 54-minute show. By the time it's in Edinburgh, it can get to like an hour and 5. And so I have to start cutting it back. But because it just keeps...
And what is that? What is that technique of ringing out? Can you give us an example of a bit that you've done that with, where you've gone, okay, I know this is the punchline.
Well, I'd say it'd be more just kind of in stories, like say maybe with either the blowjob story or like it would on the tennis court. It used to just be, I went to this party, I met this guy, and then the blowjob was the main bit. But then it just turns into these. That's not a great example, but there was a joke in last year's show that I did at the spot the other night that you saw that was about how I don't. I'm quite new to weed, and I've started smoking weed, but I've always been a late bloomer, and I listed the reasons of why I was a late bloomer, and then it got to and it happened on stage where I said I was always been a late bloomer, but I'm telling you, I'm butchering my own material. I've always been a late bloomer, but I've always made up for lost time. And so say like when I had my first sip of alcohol, I was 17, which is quite late, but I made up for lost time. I drank 9 Smirnoff Double Blacks, which are these horrible alcohol drinks. I didn't have a cigarette until I was 18, but I smoked a packet of Marlboro Reds. Oh, and I lost my virginity when I was 16, which is quite late in Newcastle, but I lost it to a guy that had a penis that could easily feed a family of 4. And that was the joke. And then on stage one night I said, like this is how big that dick was. It didn't just take my virginity, put my virginity in the back of a car, drove to the outskirts of town, threw it out and said, if you come back, I'm going to hurt your fucking family. And that was just like an ad lib or something. And there was another one in there that was like, it came with a side of a garlic bread and a Viennetta.
I remember the Viennetta joke.
It just keeps like... I don't know. This is a bad example of it, but I'll go like punchline, and then I'll just keep going
and try to say the same thing again. Try to go. Okay.
I like repetition a lot.
So there we go. This is how big the dick was, and then
I try and like
version.
If I'm on a roll, which is a lot of my act, like guys, like I talk really quickly and I get really worked up. Like say there's a bit where and not all my material is sexual, but like we went to the sex shop. And there was things in that place that did not fit in my vision, let alone like my person, which is what I call my partner, by the way. And that was just like a little ad lib, and then that gets locked down, and then like we went to, and there was like a wall of rubber fits, like a wall of them, like it looked like a climbing wall, like it looked like that scene in the Labyrinth, like which is just a stupid reference that no one ever gets.
Absolutely. And I got it, and I've also appreciated that you were doing a brief mime of that one for the slow kids. Yeah.
But yeah, just constantly little, like I feel like every sentence should have, when I'm in a role like that, if I'm not doing exposition, I guess is the only way to word it, but if I'm not doing moving a story forward or something, there should be something funny in there, in my mind. I like just little tiny jokes, and even if it's just a noise, I like dumb shit, I like just people... I like as many jokes as possible.
And does the character, does the drag, if you like, that voice, does that make it easier for you to write on stage?
Yes.
Because the voice is so clear.
Yes, that's exactly probably what it is. Yeah, it's and I can go off on these very odd tangents. Like for example, like there's a joke. That my mother hates because it is not... Like, I've also created this kind of... I've had to start explaining to my parents, when I talk about you guys on stage, it's not really you. It's what the audience expects my family life is like, which is but say, for example, like, my mother would always say, I don't know, Rees, it was the late 80s, I don't know who he is, which suddenly paints this picture of... Like, but no, my parents are very much together. I know exactly who my father is, and we have a lovely relationship. Okay. And they're very supportive. But I just like little twists, and the character can get away with that because you do. And I talk about being poor all the time, but I'm really overly dressed up. Yes. So you're like, what is this guy's backstory? Like, how did?
But that kind of contributes to the archetypal nature of it, doesn't it? Yeah, I think.
Yeah, and so I like. I forget how I started talking about that. Just the. What was the question? I genuinely forgot what I was talking about.
I hate getting called on what the question was because I always forget it a second after I ask it. Does it make it easier to improvise?
Yes.
In that character?
Yes. Then yes. Like it's because the character is clear. Like he has, in a weird way, he has boundaries but doesn't have boundaries. Like and I'm still saying I've never said he before.
Sorry. You said it once, and now I've
me in
this. We've got the scoop on Nicholson.
What I do? Yeah, I'm not even gay. My wife hates my act. It definitely makes it more opportunities because you believe it's without wanting to sound like an absolute dick. I think it makes me exotic. Do you know what I mean? Like I can go off on these tangents about things because you don't really understand where I'm from. Or, I don't know if I'm trying to work out how to crystallise this statement.
Yes, I think I get what you mean.
Like, I can... Like, almost... And I'm reading way too much into this now. But almost... Not otherworldly, but I can have these very odd opinions. Like, the joke about... The Ivan Milat joke, the joke about the serial killer... is not something a straight white man in a plaid shirt can say. But by me, I'm suddenly like this... What's the word? What's the French word? The affront?
An enfant terrible?
No, it means... In French, it means, like, mischievous child or something. It's, like, a nice way. Anyways, it got said in a review once, and I was like, well, that's what I want to be forever now. Like, I can be naughty, but in a way that you're like, no. Yes. Because of the look.
Yes, and I wonder what it is about the look that says that, because I think for all the look has power because of the cut of the suit and the deliberateness and the fact
I'm focusing a lot on the look more.
No, I am. For all that the look has a lot of power to it, also the look allows you to be I think, I don't know, I came up with a pet theory there, just to do with, like, if you want to be the naughty child that's allowed to say stuff, the look contributes to that by way of the look also has vulnerability as well as having power. There is this sense, I wonder, is there a sense that in order to be on stage you have to do that?
Yeah.
You have to do that to yourself. That must be uncomfortable. It must be inconvenient. And so you buy yourself...
I think I was talking to my partner about this the other day. Oh no, it was a while ago. I like the character almost is someone who is just about to fall apart. Like,
yeah, okay.
Do you know what I mean? Like like clinging to like show businesses, and it is that Joan Crawford, that kind of
brittle.
Yeah, just like everything is fine, but then we're throwing in little lines like maybe she's born with it, maybe it's low self-esteem, like letting them know that, but like, oh no, behind this there's some sadness. But hey, show business. It's brutal show business.
So, are you currently undergoing therapy, or have you finished with that for now?
No, and I went a little bit. I'm more. I'm pretty self-sufficient. I went for a bit and kind of did I've got the coping mechanisms. And it's been. My anxiety itself has gotten a lot better in the last couple of years. In a similar way, I would say, I was talking to Flick Ward about it once, and we were both saying, like, there are times when, I haven't had a panic attack in probably 6 months or something, which is a bit where there was about a year or two there where I was having them almost daily. And so that was very kind of, out of nowhere. The fridge wouldn't seal, and I'd be like, oh, God, and start boiling. Which was not very conducive to, and it was, my partner would say, he is stuck to his guns. I remember there would be times I'd just be like bawling on the couch and stuff, and he just like not understanding what's going on, and you don't want to be touched at that point, so you're like, don't touch me. Like, oh, okay. But no, I'm like, I think, it happens, like when things like the debate was on the other day, which is like this big TV thing, and I got pretty close, I was pretty stressed, I can feel it. I think what it is, I know how to deal with it now. It's like, I remember a therapist explaining it to me really well once about, and I kind of, if you're greening out on weed, like if you smoke too much weed and you go, I'm greening out right now.
We used to call that a whitey in my day.
A whitey, yeah.
Yeah, game on. Yeah.
When you but the way that you get out of it is you go, like you deal with it. Like you accept that it's happening. And that way it kind of that's what I can do. I can somehow do that with anxiety now, where if I can feel a panic attack coming, it's like, oh no, but you just let it kind of, which is a really easy way to, I realize this is very easy to say and not, it's taken me a long time to.
But if it's working for you, then it's...
Yeah, exactly. This is my truth. But I'm definitely a lot better than I was.
I didn't want to cut you off. I didn't want you to think that what you said there wasn't worthwhile, because there definitely will be people listening to this who have panic attacks. So that idea, just to stay with that for a second, that idea of kind of not surrendering to it, but kind of taking away
I'm having a panic attack right now.
Yes, taking away the element of it which is away based on your resistance to
what's happening.
Yes, okay.
Like just going like, oh, this is going to be awful for about 10 minutes, and then it fucks the rest of your day as well. But because you're just moody. But it's so annoying that it just took one sentence for a therapist to say, oh, this is what happens now. And also I used to sleep for about 4 hours a night because I thought I was Margaret Thatcher. But I sleep a lot more now because I used to get home from shows blind drunk so I could go to sleep, and now I smoke a little joint out the window and I go to sleep. Like, I don't like being stoned. I don't touch drugs any other time. But now I sleep, 8 hours a night, and that changed my life. So stupid what sleep changes. Like suddenly just sleeping for 8 hours a night meant I wasn't wide-eyed and crazy the rest of the day. Like there'd be nights that I would sleep, 3 hours, 4 hours, and do that for a week. and just get crazier and crazier. I'm sure you with a baby at the moment, you are very similar to that.
I was trying very hard not to start crying when you said 8 hours a night.
Yeah.
No, I'm doing fine. Fine. I'm getting good sleep, just less.
Anxiety
than I'm
just feels like
to.
having a baby.
Jesus Christ. I knew that would be the most frightening aspect of parenthood for me, would be the lack of sleep.
Yeah.
Because I identified many years ago that if I don't get 8 hours a night, that is a huge trigger point for me to get depressed and anxious.
Yes.
And
luckily we work in an industry with just really easy hours and they work around a baby really well.
Very easy. Yeah, and I was very lucky to have that kind of support from an excellent partner who is now able to say, look, I'm tired, but I know that, this is me being her. She will say that she is tired, but she knows that she can cope with being tired, whereas I'm falling to bits, so Stu, you have to go and sleep now.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful for that, and I really wanted to continue.
Yeah. And she's very pretty. I met her. She's very pretty.
She's very pretty lady.
Yeah.
Have you met my baby? You haven't met my baby?
No, I haven't met the baby.
Very pretty baby.
Yeah.
As you can imagine.
I mean, we've been talking on the phone, but...
So, talk to me then about... What was that?
I don't know. I just don't...
What were you expecting me to
know. Drapes. No, I don't know.
Talk to me about what you want out of comedy.
Oh, no. Money. No,
money? Money is a valid answer.
Money is
no
the
one ever says money.
I mean, I would say I don't mind being commercially viable, but I'm definitely not, there are choices that I could have made in the past that would have made me a lot more commercially viable and would have made me famous by now.
What sort of choices?
Well, just like, do you want to do this television program that you do not agree with in any way whatsoever but will be on prime time? You're like, no. Like, I remember I was on the short list once to be on one of those celebrity reality shows. One of the bad ones, not one of the big famous ones, but it was like the money was quite good and it was either that or do Edinburgh. Where it was either like, do you want all this money or do you want to set this money on fire in another country? And I decided to set that money on fire in another country because I knew that it's where I want to end up and it's where I want to, I like the UK and I wanted to continue. And it was I think my 3rd year in Edinburgh, so I didn't want to stop it. And anyway, then watching that show a year later was like, I'm glad I was not involved in that. But but no, I also am very aware of, I'm not one of those people that's like this is a job. You got to make money out of it. Like, you got to support and eat, and you can't just be like I'm an artist your whole life. Because it don't pay no bills. And I think also, because I grew up in my parents were very poor when I grew up. And so it makes me like...
Your parents were artists, you said?
Yeah. And then when I was younger, when I was a toddler, we lived in like this, which sounds crazy in retrospect, because my dad's a ceramicist and my mum's a ceramicist and painter, and she's an art teacher. She's a principal of a school now. Very quick turnaround. But we lived in this dilapidated cinema, Art Deco cinema. My sister and them, there was no proper bath. It was like a big studio. We used to call it the factory, like Andy Warhol's factory. But there were these huge glazing buckets that he would fill up with hot water, and it was on wheels. And so my dad would wheel my sister and I in the bath next to the wheel, like his pottery wheel, and work while we just sat in the bath with him in this huge. I had these really odd memories because I was 4 maybe of this huge space. And it was when it would rain, water would be pouring in. It's since been demolished, I think. And then we lived in this tiny house, and then my parents went bankrupt, so we moved in with my grandmother. So my grandmother raised me for part of my life. But I had this my family, we had kind of put into us work, hustle, always hustle. So I'm always trying to get work. I don't take days off during festivals, and I try and get as many gigs night by night as I possibly can, and I will say yes to most gigs if I agree with the conceit of it. But also, it's a pretend job, so it's hustle in this pretend job.
And do you have a side hustle?
Porn. No. Imagine what a funny thing to find out. No, I do craft that I sell merch
I remember. I've just remembered your phone case from a year or two ago.
I think. And
do you still have that?
I've got a Angela Lansbury one. I've got this is a Tilda Swinton one that I've hidden myself in.
So you sell,
and I make jewelry. Like I make brooches, and I used to make bow ties, but I just don't have time anymore.
and the phone case for the people unable to see it is.
It's a whole bunch of, and look, it's definitely illegal what I've done here.
You've cribbed a load of pictures of Tilda Swinton
and put them on the back of a phone,
collaged them, and then people can buy this as your merch
on Redbubble. So stupid. And I have like T-shirts with like Angela Lansbury on them, and I don't know why I'm upset. I've started doing this thing in the last 3 shows or 2 shows where I try and get a Murder, She Wrote reference in there somewhere, and I just want someone to notice. Like, and now I've pointed it out, but. Yeah, like to one day just watch them all in a row and go, wait a minute. At some point he brings up Angela Lansbury.
He's confessing to something.
Dun, 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 dun. But yeah, I don't really have like a side hustle because this kind of takes up a lot of the time. I'm the bane of my partner's existence sometimes because he's, say after Edinburgh, he's like, we should go on a trip. You've been touring for 6 months. I'd be like, but in my mind, like the touring is the trip. Like in my mind, I've just got to go to England and Scotland. Why would I stop?
Why don't you want to come on one of these working holidays?
Yeah, with me. Yeah, where I
yeah.
sit almost in tears in a tiny, rainy apartment. Yeah, I just don't like and my family we weren't much of the holiday kind of family, whereas my partner, his family kind of was. And I'm not saying anything. It's just 2 different types of families. He comes from money, not bazillions of money, but like more comfortable growing up. So we have very different understandings of like, I panic if I'm not. Like, but then how will we pay for that? He's like, with the money we've saved up from all the other work. It's like, no, but then something else will come up. What if the house catches on fire? Yeah. And so he's a bit more like, everything's fine. Like, no. Yeah.
So 10 years from now, best case scenario.
Oh yeah, what do I want from comedy?
Like?
That's right. You asked me that about 10 minutes ago. I like the idea at the moment. I don't think in my fantasy brain I have a sitcom, but I can't act, and I don't think I would be good at writing it. But there's that confidence I'm known for. I would love to have a talk show, like a Graham Norton-y style kind of. Because he's quite brutal on that show, but so likable. I think Graham Norton has that as well. He's got that. He could say some heinous things to people,
absolutely,
and it just washes over them.
Absolutely,
like just that whole red chair conceit it's
magic,
brutal. It's brutal. These old elderly women telling this story about when they're on safari once, and then suddenly Harrison Ford is flipping their chair, and everybody laughs. It's amazing, and he's cultivated this whole thing, yeah.
Could that sit with the suit, the look? Sorry, I was trying not to say the character.
Yeah.
The look. Would that sit with the look? Could you sit on the same couch?
I guess. Yeah, I mean, you're right, aren't you? Like he's very. Someone like Graham is very, like he's human. He's very human, I think. But also, you don't know anything about him. I find that quite interesting. I don't know whether it's different in the UK, but like. Does he have a partner? How old is he?
Sure.
What are his views politically? Like, it's very interesting.
That's a really good point. I didn't notice that. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Whereas you look at maybe say some of the big American ones, you know exactly what their politics are. You knew exactly what David Letterman was thinking the entire time, almost too much, when he was like. Whereas I really like Conan, you kind of get an idea as well, but yeah, you know nothing about the really brilliant ones. You know nothing about. I think.
So
show. I would like a talk show, or just like I never want to stop doing stand-up. It's I'm not. It's one of the main. Like, it's not like I'm being offered TV shows or anything, but I never want to be one of those people that like suddenly starts hosting a quiz and never does stand-up again, and comes back in 10 years and they're just not good anymore. There's a guy. There's like say Dave Hughes is a guy in this country who is a very well-known comic, and could have easily stopped doing comedy years ago. But he's still really good because there was a time where he was doing a breakfast radio show, a nighttime kind of news comedy show, and gigs most nights. I don't know how he was hanging out with his 4 children, and he remains to be fucking sharp, and he's a multi-millionaire. So it's like, yeah, I never want to stop doing stand-up. I want to be able to play to small theatres just when I want, and put on shows that I enjoy doing, and release albums and stuff, and yeah, do things more on my terms, I'd imagine.
Couple of quickies to finish off with.
Yeah.
Who in the comedy world, which fellow comedian would it be most narratively satisfying if you were killed by them?
Probably an internet sensation. What do you mean? So if I was murdered by them,
Yeah.
because they see me as a threat, or just so I'm like, oh?
However you like.
I would like to be involved in a murder-suicide with... Oh, what about... Maybe like me and Maria take some arsenic pills a la Hitler and Ava Braun. Just you'll find us in a bunker somewhere.
What's the worst idea for a joke you've had recently?
Oh, recently. I don't know, recently.
Or ever. Do you know what I mean? When you've gone like, that's not a good idea.
Yeah, definitely like... I had like and this is like a kind of just mundane one, but I had a joke. I was writing for this debate thing the other day, and the argument was... And it was that thing as well where I thought of it in the middle of the night and wrote it down in my phone. And it didn't wake me up or anything. I was laying there thinking about it. And I was like, that's probably a good idea. And I genuinely, over the course of the next 10 minutes, was like, that's a really fucking good line. Woke up the next morning and went, what? The dumb, just really mundane joke about how... Because the debate was you have to fake news to make news. And we were arguing against that. So we were saying that truth was better. And I was trying to... Like, the line was, why watch The Real Housewives of... whatever show when you can get on a bus and just watch The Real Housewives of this bus? What the fuck are you talking about? Like, it makes no sense. Years ago, the worst thought I've ever had, I think, and this is when I wanted to be a shock comedian when I was like 19, there's this horrible, really horrific story about this poor girl in this country who she got hit by a car 3 separate times in her life, like as a child, and she's lost limbs out of it. And I wrote it down. I wrote this down. I remember seeing it on the news and thinking, finally, something for pedophiles with amputee fetishes. Not even close to funny, Stu. Wow. Not even close. But like at the time, I was like, this will get him. And then clearly came to my senses within about 10 minutes. I was like, why do you... But do you remember when you're still learning cadences of jokes? And I was like, in my head, I was like, if I say something horrific in a cadence... That's a joke.
Recognising that is not the case is an important lesson along the way. Hey, I tell you what, just to wrap up with them, what other kind of lessons like that have you learned? I mean, I don't like to ask what people would... I don't have to ask any more what advice people give younger comedians, because the advice is always just work, just gig, write hard, gig hard. Yeah. But what specific lessons can you remember learning that you went, I shouldn't do that, or I should try to do more of this?
A big one that I learned was never talk down to the audience. Like as in... Like I started off being very kind of faux confidence on stage and very like angry and aggro, and that just doesn't fit what I do. And so just learning not, and like always being on level with the audience or below them. Which is even physically in venues, I quite like the venue that you saw me in last night. I don't like those types of, I like a flat stage with raked seating because you're physically lower than them. Mm-hmm. So you're looking up to them and like, so are these some ideas that you kind of agree with?
That's interesting.
Yeah, which is very, I'm probably looking too much into that, but I don't like that stage last night. I think it's too high for comedy.
When you remarked on that from the stage, I remember thinking, I know what you mean as a fellow professional, but actually from the point of view of a punter, I've got a really good view of you. Yeah. And I'm like 10 rows back.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, I'll stop saying but that, and also, just like the work hard. Just be nice. Just be nice. Learn text names. Be nice to bar staff. I worked in ticketing for years, and people were such cunts, and it really taught me to like just be nice to everyone. Not in a way to your detriment. If someone's not nice to you, deal with it. But it's so easy to be nice in this, and I think that will get you way further, and not in a creepy way, not like don't hug everyone or something, don't climb, not like a gross climber, but just be happy to be places. Don't constantly be complaining about the audience, because I hate those people backstage. I hate those and don't shit backstage in the toilet. Don't do that.
So that was Rhys. Do check out his show at the Edinburgh Festival if you're going to be there. If you're watching in Australia, if you're watching, what are you doing watching? Nothing's happening. if you're watching, just focus on something else with your eyes while you listen to this. Then if you're in Australia, you can get along and see him live somewhere, or as I say, at Edinburgh. Do check him out. His venue information, I'm sure by now, is available on the edfringe.com website. Really, really can't recommend him enough. Very excited to bring you that conversation with him. Now, everyone's a comedian. You can submit your stuff at comedianscomedian.com/experiment. And on a final note before I leave you, thank you, of course, to all the usual people. Thank you to Steve Dunn. Thanks to Daryl Smith, Dan Melrose, Asher Trelevan, all the people that we ordinarily thank. And by the time I speak to you next, no, I'll say that in a second. First, if you are someone who has donated, thank you so much. The donations are trickling in a subscription kind of way. Those are always nice to see. There's a couple of people, there's more than a couple of you, but less than a lot of you who are supporting the podcast with a regular monthly subscription at comedianscomedian.com/donate. And occasional one-off donations are trickling in, and I'm very glad to have them when I can. You are the only people that pay for this podcast. I mean, I should probably point out at this juncture, life's getting pretty expensive at the moment, what with the third mouth to feed and I think I mentioned this before, I feel like now I'm touring, I'm in a kind of pay it forward phase of my career. I'm not making a great deal of money off the tour. What I'm hoping is that I'm building stuff that will work in the future. You know, once I get to the stage of being able to sell out 200 or 300 in every venue I do, then the margins will hopefully flip and it will become more financially worthwhile. We're not there yet. We're on the way, but we're not there yet. So if you are interested in supporting this venture, then you can also book me for corporate work, or you can book me at your high-paying gig in an exotic location. Then do get in touch with me, info@comedianscomedian.com. And if you're someone who wants to sponsor or advertise on this podcast, I'm not going down the route of kind of getting in with a big agency who take half the money. I don't think that's sensible. I've spent 5 years working on this on my own. But if there is anyone out there who advertises their product on podcasts, or if you just want to pretend that you are so that you can get in touch with me and learn my highly confidential and closely guarded listenership numbers, then do get in touch and let's talk about an occasional advert. I hope I'm not sounding too desperate here. I probably am. But I'm continuing to give this stuff away for free. I hope you all appreciate it. I know that many of you do. And I also know that many of you aren't able to pay. So please don't feel guilty. I'm absolutely not laying a guilt trip on you. If anything, I'm trying to explore other avenues of making money, making a big truckload of money from a thing which occupies so very much of my waking life. And that concludes the podcast. So, just a quick postamble. By the time I speak to you next, I will be married. I will be wed. Dear listener, I will have married her. It's pretty great. It's pretty exciting. I can't go through my vows without crying. I can't listen to any of the songs that we're going to play at the wedding without bursting into tears. The wedding is going to be a solid hour of me weeping. And then I will have to give some sort of speech with hugely red eyes. It's so exciting. Did I talk about this before a while ago? I mean, it's very present now in my mind. I used to think that the wedding was a sort of the cherry on top of the cake being a family involving a child, and that kind of, a cemented cake, a very tough, solid, delicious, enduring cake. And I thought, getting married, well, let's do that as well. Lovely, pong. And I realised it is obviously it's a different thing, and you write a vow and you look at the vow and you go, oh yeah, that's a vow. I mean, very infrequently do I vow anything these days, if ever. And I've got a big vow coming up. occasionally, who hasn't got drunk and sworn some sort of blood oath? But this is a vow. This is different. This is serious stuff. I'm really looking forward to it. And it's nice actually I don't feel any collywobbles about it at all. I feel quite calm and confident. I feel a lot of tension about the enormous industrial complex of a wedding that we're planning. And I very much hope that all pays off as she wants it to, and I want it to. I mean, I'd just be happy just getting hitched, but I want the bride to have everything she wants, and there's some good gear about that in the new show if you've seen the second half of the tour at any point. But anyway, I don't know. This is only brief. I've got work to do, and I'm very happy, and I'm very happy that the next time I speak to you, I shall be married. That's very exciting. She's on her hen do at the moment, so I'm looking after the boy. It's Daddy and Boutros time for 3 days in a row, and I can't wait. I actually find it very relaxing. Ha! Scream 1,000 solo parents. Relaxing in the sense that when I'm with him, I can't be doing work. I have to, I often have to, but this specifically, the hen do, I have put aside everything, and I'm doing full-on parenting. And actually, it's quite zen to not worry about emails and stuff and actually just go, we're going to go out tomorrow and have a nice lunch with some friends, and I'm going to leave my phone at home because I just want to be with the boy. I might take it with me for emergencies, but I'll leave it on airplane mode. I might leave it on in case Mum wants to get in touch. I'll check a few emails. Oh, God. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to it. You can probably hear in my voice how happy I am right now. So thank you, all of you, for listening to that and paying attention to it. And I look forward to speaking to you next week when I am Mr. Goldsmith. Bye for now.